Dang, Disney. You in your cash grab era this year. Mufasa The Lion King is directed by Barry Jenkins. He did If Beale Street Could Talk, as well as Moonlight. And it is the origin story of the Lion King, Mufasa himself. So, what did I think about it? Well, let's talk about the categories and give it a score. First, acting. Well, with it being technically all animated CGI, there are no real people that are on screen visibly talking. It's all through the animals, so it's just kind of going off of how they deliver lines. And honestly, I didn't hate it. There aren't any line deliveries that are just so awful and bland and out of nowhere that kind of takes you away from it. So everything is just good. There's nothing bad about it whatsoever. And I didn't find, though, any performances that were over the top amazing, and I absolutely just was to die for when it came to the acting portion of this film. But there's an issue. Now, I understand the Mufasa recast. I understand James Earl Jones is no longer with us, so you have to recast him. And, of course, you have to have him as a younger person. Aaron Pierre, who is going to be the Green Lantern John Stewart, he's Mufasa in this film, and he's good. I don't find him horrible at all. He's, as you would expect, just pretty good. He has big shoes to fill. I mean, James Earl Jones as Mufasa is Mufasa, so of course it's going to be hard for him to just, do his thing. But they make a decision in this film that just makes no sense, and it's hard to connect things, right? Because pretty much everyone was recasted. Besides the time frame, not the flashback stuff, everything is kind of recasted. So you get all these new voices for characters in which you had new voices already for, the remake of The Lion King. So now there are 3 versions of Scar out there, 2 versions of Mufasa out there. So it's hard to connect with these characters because it's disjointed from its own movie. Anyways, I'm just going to give it a half a star out of 1 within this category. Nothing was horrible, but nothing was great. And the recasting decisions are just very odd to me. Visuals. Well, it's animated, so it has to be, knocking out of the park when it comes to its visuals. I have such a huge problem with this set of Disney live-action remakes. Everything else makes sense because it's either blended with humans or they try to do something interesting with the creatures to make them somewhat similar to their animated counterparts while also giving a realistic look to them. Take, for instance, the new How to Train Your Dragon that's coming out. Toothless has the same look and appearance, but he's kind of just, realistic now. Like his body, his textures are realistic instead of animated. And in The Lion King, there's that picture that someone did a mock-up of what it would look like if they just went the route of it's still realistic in terms of the fur texture, but it had that same animation style. And it looked a lot better and a lot cleaner, and you could probably get a lot more emotions out of these animals when they talk and they speak. And yeah, it's just hard to connect. Yes, it's visually cool, but there's a problem, a huge problem. The safari world, right? The safari landscape, it doesn't have really dynamic color. Besides its beautiful sunsets, there isn't really any crazy dynamic color. You're getting a lot of tans, and when you're talking about a story about lions, you're getting a lot of tans. So when there's a lot of tan on tan, you can't see the tan thing on the tan thing. You understand all the tan? And that's not even the worst part, because the camera work is atrocious. The crazy cutting, the jumbled mess that it is, There's no cool landscape shots that are just absolutely amazing. It's just rough from start to finish. So, with all that being said about the visual aspect of this film, I give it a 0 stars out of 1 within this category. Audio. Well, I'm glad I went to a concert. Didn't go to a movie. I went to a concert. You know, when you go to a concert, and sometimes you can't really hear the singer, most of the time you just hear everyone else in the crowd singing. But of course, the sound of the guitar and the drums are so elevated that you can't hear the singer too well. That's this film. You can't hear these people talking, right? You can't hear these lions chit-chatting with one another because the background music decides to just blare on overload. But on talking about music, yeah, it is a Lion King movie, so of course there are going to be musical numbers. Honestly, only one of them is good. And it's not even, I don't even want to spoil it, but only one of them's good. Everything else is just why. The reason why musicals work so well is because the musical numbers are supposed to help articulate feelings without having just a monologue heavy, movie. This film just pops and places music kind of whenever. They'll just randomly be walking and then start singing. And I'm like, what? Why are we singing at this point when you could have been singing in a few minutes ago? And there are times where they should have sang and they never sang and they never had a song. And you're kind of just sitting there going, what are we doing here? The music and musicals are supposed to be a vessel for characters to express their feelings and emotions and the plot at the same time and give context as well at the same time. And they don't do it. And all that shocks me because Lin-Manuel Miranda is behind the music. He said, no, Moana 2, I'm doing Mufasa. And you had Lin-Manuel Miranda and Barry Jenkins in the same room, probably, two creative geniuses, and you gave me garbage. So, with all that being said, audio gets a big old goose egg in this category as well. Story. So, here's the thing. This film was sold to different people different ways. For kids, it was, hey, it's The Lion King and Disney. For people with kids, it was, hey, it's a kids movie and it's Lion King, so you'll probably remember your childhood with The Lion King and it's Mufasa, so that's cool, but you could also bring your kid to the movie. They'll probably want to see it. But then you have a third group. The people who want to know more about Mufasa and understand the relationship between him and his brother Scar. In all honesty, that's what sold me. I didn't watch a trailer. I don't usually watch trailers anymore. I just go in blind and hope that they bring me something great. And when they said Barry Jenkins was behind it, I said, oh, wow. You have a creative genius, right? A guy who is building layer upon layer of a foundation of filmmaking that is so spectacular, yet this story is horrible. The reason between Scar and Mufasa's rift is dumb, it's stupid, and it just infuriates me, and I wish I'd never seen it, and I'm going to remove this from the canon of The Lion King in my head. The mystery behind these two brothers hating each other is gone. It's infuriating to see the direction they went. Certain characters make stupid decisions throughout the whole film, and it's just so questionable and just makes no sense. And also, they use it as a flashback thing. You have Rafiki telling the daughter of Simba, hey, this is a story about Mufasa. But the story keeps halting. The progression keeps halting at every single time because they need comedic relief with Timon and Pumbaa. And I'm a big Timon and Pumbaa fan. I love those guys. But for the sake of this film, you didn't need them. You literally did not need anything revolving around after the Lion King events people. at all. You didn't need to do the flashbacks. You could have just straight up just did a Mufasa movie without those people, and it literally does nothing for the plot. Like, it doesn't change the plot at all. And also, there's a couple lines in this film that always keep reoccurring by Pumbaa. I'll just say that so I don't spoil it. And it's frustrating because you go, are they teasing us? What are they doing? Literally, in terms of story and in terms of twists and turns of this film, in order to understand the hatred that these two brothers have for one another and why Scar hates Mufasa and why Mufasa, threw Scar in the other side. He said, "Go away, buddy." It's infuriating. It's one of the biggest fumbles since the butt fumble by Mark Sanchez. An origin story is supposed to give new light to a character that's beloved in some way. Good ones, at least. Mufasa is just as bland as a good guy can be in this film as he is in the other films. And Mufasa is one of the goats of characters, right? He's just the overall good guy, which is fine. But it would have been cool to see a complexity and understanding of how he got there. He couldn't have been a good character at first, but built upon himself and been a better person or better lion. But they didn't do that. Mufasa's just great the whole time. And it's frustrating. So, story. Guess what? 0 stars in this category. I like to always do this with enjoyment, so I'm going to give it up to y'all. What do you think? Do you think I enjoyed this film? You think I liked this film? I'm not going to lie. When the film started to get to its close, and I knew we're about to hit credits, and then boom, credits hit, I got up out of my chair, walked and did a turn around the corner, and went, this film is garbage. I'm sorry, Barry Jenkins, but this will be your little black spot in your just building block of creativity that you're doing. I hope they paid you a handsome bag for this film, because it, in all honesty, taints your building legacy. From start to finish, I almost walked out of this film. This is one of the only films this year I almost walked out of because of how horrible it is. I know some big Lion King heads are going to love this film for the sake of loving this film. They're going to be frustrated with me being so picky with this film. And I always say this, it doesn't matter what film you are, as long as you do what you're supposed to be doing correctly. And this film is just a sloppy, another cash grab. Him and Moana 2. Such a cash grab. I hated this film. So with all that being said about enjoyment, 0 stars out of 1 within this category. So, if you're keeping track at home, that means Mufasa, the Lion King, gets half a star out of 5. I think this film is horrible.